Well, hello, hello. Welcome back. And Rakeeb, welcome back to you. How are you today?
Hello.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
It's good to be
Now,
back, some faces.
yeah, today we have got a topic that was sent through to us, and we thought, oh, this is a good one because this is something that we do quite often get asked about.
We do. We get asked about it quite a bit, right? It's all about
Mm,
keeping your personal social media page away from your business social media page. What an important topic, especially today of all days, you know?
I know, I know. So, I reckon we should kickstart.
Let's do
Rakeeb,
it.
you are my social media guru. Let's have a talk about. So, what do you believe is the right way? Business page and personal as one, or keeping them
Yeah,
separate?
sure. Well, I guess it comes down to different people and what they do. For me personally, I always keep it separate. And my personal opinion on for any small businesses out there is to keep your personal life away from your business profile as much as you can. I
Mm.
mean, I know you've got a page for your cat. Imagine starting posting about things to do with your cat or things you do in your weekends on Directional's
Oh,
page. There are things that we just don't want our clients to see, do we? So I highly recommend keeping it separate. Like that's my
no,
first go.
but I can't believe you brought up my cat's page.
Hey, I was on it
Pos-
before. That's why it's fresh in the mind.
Positive catnip. Just if anyone's asking.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yes, it's really true. And funnily enough, I actually do use my cat's page, Instagram page, when I'm doing workshops because it actually completely keeps away from my personal life.
yeah.
So when I'm having to demonstrate something, I have something to demonstrate
So
with.
that,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, like, we all have friends and family that might not be our ideal clients. So it's the line between that and someone that is like a family member following you, things that you can share with them aren't things ideally you want to share with your clients.
Yeah.
So, like, what I do is if there's a message on my business page that I think is relevant to my personal audience or like my friends and family, I will reshare that as a post. So,
Mm.
share that post onto your personal. But there are certain things that I post about. Like I can be very politically inclined in my conversation that I have with people online, you know? It
Yeah.
might not be something that might please my customers, especially right now. COVID is such a huge topic. Vaccinations is such a huge topic. Things that I
Yeah.
debate with people online might
Mm.
conflict with the type of clients that I work with. So it's keeping a
Mm.
fine line between the two, I think is very important now more than ever. But
Yeah.
also things that we might do in our social lives, like going out for dinner with our partners. To let's say if my ideal clientele is a restaurant and I'm
Yeah.
working with a client that is focused on one end of a restaurant spectrum, but then I go to another restaurant, it's a conflict of interest, and I don't want to be
Yeah.
showcasing someone else's restaurant when people know my client is someone else that's in
Yeah.
direct line with them. So there's different things that play a different part when you keep the same. So
Yeah.
if I had to choose, I will always keep it separate. And when clients come to me and they say, "Oh, yep, I've got a personal page. We can use that to run campaigns," I'm like, "No, let's not. Let's create
Mm-mm.
a new page and start
Mm.
fresh." It might be a bit of
Mm.
work because you obviously have to create content on both pages, but it's worth it long term because then you're engaging with the right people with the right content.
Yeah. And one thing to remember is if people have set their business page up, say 5 or more years ago, that was back when there was no such thing as a business page. So it
Yeah,
was a personal page, and people had to go through the pain of actually starting again with their business pages.
yeah,
And but we know out there that there are still people that are using those pages that are set up with a business,
yeah,
with a personal structure,
yeah.
but for business. Now, talk us through the difference between those setups because there is actually really big differences between those two page setups.
There are the biggest thing that is a huge difference. The way the business pages are now created is you have a lot of insights that you can get in the back end. So with the personal pages, we can see who's liked our stories, who's liked our posts, but we don't get the nitty gritty as to who's engaging with them, who's liking certain parts of our content. The breakdown is just not there. That was the main reasons why Instagram and Facebook launched their Insights program, and that's when they made the shift from having a personal setup for any account, so even if it was a business page, to a business page. The process itself is not hard either. So some people think, oh shit, I'm going to have to now create the whole thing from scratch. That is not the case. Now people can just jump in and start the process. It's a click of a couple of buttons and you're there. And I highly recommend, if you are a business, to have a business page, because you do want to know what people are engaging with. You do want to see, who your ideal audiences are. You do want to run reports on where the engagement is coming from, who your target audience is, which country they're based in. These are some things that you just can't get with a personal page. And also the ability to create content that is more dynamic to your audience as well. So having tools and messaging that you can create around a business page is a lot more freer than it is on a personal page. I think we might have lost you, Tracey. Can you hear me? We can't hear you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, look, it looks like there was a bit of a technical difficulty, and my end, unfortunately, so I apologize. I did hear everything you had to say, but obviously I was coming in double, so hopefully that is better now. Lessons always learnt when we have to test these things.
I know.
Yeah, cool.
Are coming across better now, so I think we're back on track.
We are back on track. Sorry, everyone. Hopefully we'll be able to get that back on track. Someone's just in. Thanks, Ed. Rural internet. Do apologize, but these are the things that happen with Facebook Lives. Whenever we do anything live, it does. We do have some doozies happen. So we'd like to be quick on our toes. So glad that everyone is hearing us now. Thank you, everyone. So Rakeeb, so we just talked about the differences in setup. So I wanted to also bring up, when it comes to business pages and personal pages, one thing that we have talked about in the past is that if you are treating your business page like a personal page, you tend to have your page filled with followers that are your friends, which aren't necessarily your ideal client.
Yeah. Yeah, we forget that our friends and family will support anything and everything we do, and they will hear word of mouth from each other what we're working on. So that is an audience that we've already got as a warm lead. So it's important to reach out to that colder audience that we talk about, that social media helps with. By having a business page that, we've all done this, where we've asked our friends and family to follow our business pages. I highly recommend you don't do that when you're starting a new page, because they will obviously know what you're working on, and you want a different reach. You want ideal clients. So the best way of doing that is running campaigns and building an audience through that way, rather than reaching out to friends and family to like your page, because chances are they are either not ideal clients of yours long term, or they already know what you're doing and you don't want to waste your money promoting content to them.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you can really see that it's friends and family because they're consistently there on everything, but quite often they don't comment either. No. And now the new rule, well, it's not the new rule, but the key to social platforms is engagement. So it's not just about likes, it's also about people writing comments to get that engagement, so that there's a momentum in the conversation.
The algorithms have changed completely. It used to be all about likes. So everyone was making content and getting people, like running paid campaigns to get those likes. It's completely changed now. How the algorithms now work with any business pages is if you comment, if you share, or if you save on Instagram, that little weird icon on Instagram where you can save a post. If you do all those, that's when the algorithm likes and sees that people are engaging with your post versus just getting likes. So yeah, that definitely has changed. So you want audiences that will actually engage and comment and share your post rather than just your family member or your mum or dad going to like a post, because that doesn't do the trick anymore.
No, that's true. And I think it's actually a really good, and I'm just going to bring this point up, that it's a really good business strategy that if you are looking for engagement, whilst you're wanting people to engage on your own pages, it's also really important as a business to engage on other people's pages as a business rather than as yourself as well, because quite often people don't actually associate you with the business. So now through Business Suite, and if anyone that watched our show 3 weeks ago, I think it was, where we talked about Business Suite, there's that functionality in Business Suite to actually go in and comment as the business.
Yeah. And the other thing that like I'm sure a lot of us have noticed now is influencers is a big example of this, is they tend to comment and, you know, share posts from different brands, and like they go and like and share things within each brand that they work with, just because it gets that reach out there faster. So if you comment on a post, that post will show up on someone else's timeline if they follow you. And that's why you see a lot of these influencers commenting versus just liking posts, getting people to like the posts. They run campaigns to comment and follow, because that's when that reach is extended to a wider audience. When you like a post, no one else is going to see it but you and the other person's post that you liked. Whereas if you comment, it just allows the algorithm to show it to a lot more people that they might be following as well.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point. So last week we interviewed Rhodey, and one of the tips that the team gave us when they were here in Marlborough doing their workshops was the 40-second rule, or 40 seconds or 90 cents. So they said, take time out every day to comment on 45 people's accounts a day. And he said it will return twofold.
And that's how I found Rhodey the first time. Like I found them because they had commented on a random post that I had made, and I was like, this is like, because my page is all about travel, and my personal Instagram page is all about travel, and they obviously knew I would be the right audience to then follow them back. And when I saw that comment, I was like, who's this new business? Like, it sounds cool, you know. And that's how I came across them. And that's a good way of extending your brand rather than spending money on it. You can just do organic reach by commenting on posts that are more relevant to you. On Instagram and Facebook, you have common pages that pop up from time to time as things that has been suggested for you. Take good attention to that, because that's a good way to like see a post, comment on it, and then the algorithms will do its magic to get you the followers that you need.
Yeah. And the other thing that we talked about recently was also that because engagement is now king, it's gold when it comes to social media, is responding to people as quickly as possible.
Correct. Yeah. Don't leave that comment unattended to. If someone's commenting, even if it is a negative feedback, in the comments, respond to it with a thank you, and we'll take good care of whatever the comment was. If it's a good one, just say thanks. You know, a simple thanks with an emoji will do the trick, but make sure you are responding to the algorithms, because it does like to see that you are active on your pages.
Yeah, definitely. We're kind of digressing from personal business, aren't we? But the key is that when you do have a business, it's really important that it's set up under a business account. For exactly those features that you mentioned earlier, and also, you know, making sure that when you do get that engagement, you are nurturing it, because it's really important to keep it moving along.
I mean, you personally have done that so well. You've kept Directional completely separate from your personal. Like when we go into Directional, you know, we see you talk about mostly all business stuff on there, anything you're working with clients, any conferences that you're part of, you've mentioned those on there. These lives end up on there as well. And I don't think I've ever seen you actually post any of these lives on your personal page, right? So I took that from you, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep it separate for myself as well. But what made you do that, and do you have any tips that you can share with us? I know that you were working on tips for us.
I have. Yeah, look, it's an interesting one, because you don't want to drown out your personal audience with your work, because that's not the relationship that you have with them. the relationship you have with them is it's personal. I am mindful of what I put on my personal page because you are still accessible through your business page, so people can dig a little bit deeper to understand who is linked to that business and what is their personal life. I don't know about you, Rakeeb, but quite often if I'm looking at a community page or I'm looking at a business and I'm not quite sure about it, I may actually dig a little deeper to understand who's sitting behind that page. Just helps me understand the relationship that I could gain from that business.
One of those stalkers that does social media well.
Yeah, yes. So for me, I don't tend to put a lot on my personal page. I try to keep it separate. We have moved recently in moving our these lives onto LinkedIn because we feel that's a new platform for us to actually start getting a little bit more of a voice. And we've also extended out into YouTube, which can all still sit under that business banner.
Yeah.
But I do have a few tips that I always abide by. And even when you and I are working with clients and working with social media accounts, there's a couple of golden rules that I have. And some of them are just no-brainers. And that's number one, you never talk about religion. Now, whether it be your own religious beliefs or it's actually something that's going on in the current affairs about religion, just leave it alone. If you're a hotel or an activity, it doesn't fit with what you're doing anyway. So don't bring it up. The second one is obviously politics. I mean, I know we're in an environment where, our tourism industry is heavily impacted by what's going on, and people may feel a need to use their business platform because it has a bigger reach to articulate what they feel about politics. It's not a good look because you don't want, the way I see it is you always want to be Switzerland.
Exactly.
You don't want to be one or the other in favor. It's really, you just want to take a path of less resistance and encourage people to come to you because you do have no barriers.
And that's a good point you raise, because that's where your personal page comes in. If you have views to share, you can share it with your friends and family and people that know you and understand your beliefs. But when it comes to a business profile, you don't know who your target audience is. They might be very pro-government or very anti-government, or like very pro-religion and very anti. We do have different spectrums in society today. So it's better to refrain from mixing them into your business page, because you do not know who's actually looking at it. And if they are on the fence about buying with you or coming to stay with you, you just lost a lead right there.
Yeah, and one thing we've got to remember that social media it's an open platform. So especially when you're a business, the only way you can prevent someone from coming to your page or looking at your page is if you block them from your page. So if you start to talk about a topic that is quite political or alternative, and it doesn't fit the needs of your audience, there may actually be a backlash on that for you. And you don't want that, and especially as a small business. Now, I feel like it's all well and good for big businesses to stand up there and have opinions. That's fine. But they've also got millions of dollars behind their marketing campaigns to rectify whatever damage that they've done. And so we tread really carefully. Now, one of our clients that we work with I had a conversation with them around COVID. Now, COVID's another really touchy subject.
It is. It's the main subject that affects everyone.
Yeah, and it's when do I or when don't I bring it to the forefront of my social media. Now, I don't believe that you should bring it to the forefront of your social media if you want to have an opinion about being vaxxed or not vaxxed, or whether or not you'll allow someone to come in that's vaxxed or not vaxxed. I think you open yourself to scrutiny, and it's not what a small business needs. But if you want to share the conversation around your COVID policy, as in your cleaning policies and your protocols, I think that's really important. So it's about identifying which way you want to go. I mean, there was a perfect case in Sydney the last couple of days where they've just opened up to allowing anyone that's double vaxxed to be able to go out and do everything as if they were normal. And an anti-vaxxer took a video of a cafe shop with them serving, because they had followed New South Wales guidelines saying we only serve double vaxxers. Now, that erupted in New South Wales. It went viral, but it flipped it on its head. The anti-vaxxer thought they were going to win, but actually the winner has been the cafe. They're rare stories. they're really rare stories of positivity from a controversial topic.
Exactly.
So we're not always going to be like that, and it's not
No.
always going to turn into that win-win situation.
Especially when you are a small business and all eyes are on you because they know you're a small team, they know who's behind it. Whereas with a large corporation, let's say, for example, McDonald's, we don't know who's actually behind their posts and stuff. Whereas if a small business does it, they know who it's likely coming from. So you do need to keep that very careful.
Yeah, definitely. So some tips. What would you say are some tips if someone was worried about what they put on their business page that is too close? I mean, I've just indicated that I feel that you've got to avoid religion, politics, and right now
exactly.
COVID. But what I also like to see is things like behind the scenes, how people get to where what they're doing, or the team. There's lots of ideas that we can share with people to help them separate the personal and the business.
Like with everything else we do with social media, it's about knowing your audience as well. If you know that a lot of your audiences are currently in support of anything that's happening in current affairs or around us, being mindful of that and making sure that it kind of fits or aligns with that in some context. I'm not saying fully go lie about being either pro-vaccines, for example, or anti-vaccines, for example. Don't do that. Just be as neutral as you can. Like you said, play Switzerland, be Switzerland for the next few days if there's a hot burning topic that affects your industry. We work with a lot of PR clients that, there's always things happening in the media that affects different business trends. For example, crypto, when the currency crashes, a lot of the crypto people lose their clients. Working with clients to make sure that they are voicing things in a neutral manner always goes a long way, rather than, let's say, if something happened very anti-crypto and people started, as a business, you're like, oh, cool, this is a hot topic, let me just be very anti-crypto. That might change tomorrow to very pro-crypto. So you want to be mindful of that. So playing Switzerland will be my number one tip.
Yeah, I totally agree. And sometimes it feels like it's a bit stale, but the thing is that playing Switzerland doesn't mean that you can't take some risks. And some of the things that we do sometimes is it's how you word or put headings in your social media to grab people's attention. But it doesn't mean that you have to cross the line on those topics that are they're just too big for you.
Express it in a way where it's still viewed as a positive impact on society. I think that's the main goal for any businesses, to have that positive impact, right, with their products and services they sell. So if you can showcase that if COVID is the important topic right now, that's everyone's talking. If you have protocols in place that is very pro supporting what is currently happening, just use that as your way of getting your message across. You don't need to voice it in a certain way. Just voice your protocols, because that will create the voice that you need it to.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Any last tips before we wrap up?
Don't be too black and white with your business pages. Try and be as, informative as you can be, but also get out who you are, because you do want to see personality as well behind these posts. So make sure that when you are creating a post, it's engaging. It might not be a full truth of what your beliefs are, but you want it to be something that will benefit your audience. So make sure the posts that go on your business page has relevance to it and has solid context behind why you're posting it. Don't just make it for the sake of making it. And trust me, I have done that. I have created a post in the past where I'm like, okay, today's Monday and I need to get a post out. Yes, you do, but make sure it's something that's engaging and people will want to see it, because with business pages, if you can add benefit, you will get a strong audience.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, if it's not just engaging, it's also educating or funny.
Yeah.
Something that, you can show a bit of personality. I just saw a report recently about someone complaining about their Facebook feed is just all memes, and it's just constant memes. It's just like, well, that's because the algorithm is saying that that's what you want. That's what you want. Yeah. So I'm hoping that this gave those that are watching a little bit of an understanding between the business and personal. And we do apologize for the little technical hitch. I just noticed in the corner of my eye that my plug had come out. So my system was trying to read from my mic and from my headphones. So we'll try and rectify it. And
even technology is not that hard to pick up two things.
I know. But Rakeeb, thank you again. I always love chatting with you, and you are becoming more and more a
Yeah.
feature of our lives now. So people will get to see you again.
See more of
Hopefully,
me. Lucky for
yeah.
some.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll have you back in a fortnight. Next
Sounds
week,
good.
we will be doing a business spotlight with a company called Capstone Hotel Management, and it's just about scratching the surface about what they do,
Mm,
because quite a lot of people don't know what some of these behind the scenes businesses do, and we really want to showcase and bring
yeah.
that to the front, because they are great believers, just like us, Rakeeb, of helping small businesses. So
And that's the most important thing right now.
it is totally the most important
Support
thing.
local.
So for those that are watching, thank you for your time. Apologies for the little tech error at the beginning. We will rectify as much as we can so that you can come back and listen to what we were talking about. But for those that do like what we do, please like, share, comment, and hopefully we will see you again next week. Until then, everyone, and Rakeeb, thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks, guys. See you later.